Hello, 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 hello. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever in the world you're joining from. Welcome to Open Source Friday. How are we doing today? Let me mute myself on this other screen here. I'm just getting back to my home office, friends, after a bit of forced travel. I hope everyone is doing okay. I hope that, well, it's not a hope, I'm sending a ton of love to all the folks that were affected by the hurricanes and all the weather situations. I myself had to leave my house, but I was fortunate that I came back to a house, which is not like many folks. So it's wonderful to be back in my office, and it's wonderful to be here for another edition of Open Source Friday. For those of you who are joining us, maybe for the first time, you wonder, what is this Open Source Friday deal? Well, this is a GitHub Power sponsored but community led event that we host every Friday in the hopes of highlighting not only the projects, but also the amazing maintainers, contributors, and all of you who are doing so much to keep this incredible ecosystem that we all depend on alive, well, and thriving. Also, it gives us an opportunity to explore new projects, very much like the project we have today. It's very en vogue, like they say. There is so many new and exciting things that are going to be coming up as part of the Ships for GitHub universe, all of which I can't say because they're surprises and you have to come to the conference or you have to tune in into the virtual stream. Or if you were one of the folks who joined our sweepstakes, then maybe you will be winning a ticket and you too can go to GitHub Universe and catch the action and all the announcements live. So the guest that we have today is actually a super special guest. I'm excited because we're going to do this today in English and next week in Spanish because that's how we roll. Open sources, multilingual and worldwide. But I had the pleasure of meeting Xavi in our GitHub Universe event last year. And, we have several stars and they are all really, truly fantastic. Every time that we get an opportunity to all be together in the same place and actually interact and spend some time together is lovely. Anytime that I get the privilege of hanging out with a star that's not only a nice person, but also an open source contributor, maintainer, and creator open source, it makes it even 20 times better. So I'm super thrilled that he accepted the invitation. And I'm going to go ahead and give him a very quick intro so that we can bring him on stage and get him to show us his amazing project. So Xavi was born in Valencia, but currently lives in Madrid. Shout out to anyone joining from Spain. Please say hello on the chat so we can say hello back to you. He's got over 7 years experience focused on cloud, Kubernetes, DevOps, QA, microservices, conversational AI, and mentoring startups. He's part of the Google for Startups program. He's also an organizer of GDG Madrid, DevOps Days Madrid, and the Alexa community in Spanish. In his spare time, which I don't understand how that is even a thing with this resume, he enjoys music, me and friends, and he's the author of a book called The Alexa Revolution. Xavi is not only a Microsoft MVP, but also a GitHub Star, an Alexa champion, a Google developer expert, and a Google Cloud champion, innovator in machine learning, AWS community builder, and Azure content hero. And I think this is like a brief resume of all of Xavi's incredible community engagements and all the awesome things that he does. So the project that he's going to be bringing to us today is called Genkit. For all of you Firebase users, this is an open source plugin that he wrote, created, and is open source. And it does something super crucial and fun for all of you who are now accessing GitHub models and incorporating those into your applications. It creates that. It seamlessly integrates Firebase and GitHub models APIs. So without further ado, let's welcome Xavi to the stage. Hello, Xavi. Welcome.
Hello, Andrea. Thanks for the introduction and thanks for having me today. Thank you so much. It's a pleasure.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing your project. It's amazing that you've created and you thought of open source first. And I haven't taken a look recently to see like how's it going in terms of stars and things. But one thing that we do here at Open Source Friday is we do starter projects. So folks, please go ahead and go to this repo, leave a star for Xavi. get involved with this project, but we're going to start from the very beginning. First, I have to ask, like, what was your inspiration to create this? And also, I have to ask, because you were one of the people, I think all the stars got access to models before everyone
Yeah.
else, right? Which is another amazing, great value of being a GitHub Star. You get to see all the cool stuff before it goes out. So, what was your inspiration to create this plugin? Like, why? And then, if you can give us a quick TLDR, much more eloquent that I just did. It's a thing that plugs into GitHub Models API. Then I appreciate it.
Yeah. So yeah, the as you said, like we had like early access to GitHub models, and I was playing with it with all of them, because there are several GitHub models already in the marketplace. I will share my screen in a bit, so we will show like basically all the GitHub models are available today. And it was like GitHub models so far, like the from the developer experience and from the experience overall, like was really great. Because like you have your GitHub account, and with that you have direct access to AI models from GitHub itself and from the API, with just using a GitHub token, like the same GitHub token that you are using to interact with GitHub and all that stuff. So I was basically amazed. Like it was, like this is so easy to use. And then there's this, like another open source framework, which is Genkit from the Firebase team, that allows you to create generative AI apps very easy as well, like very easy. And it has like a plugin ecosystem, so like they have their docs, and you can develop like the plugins that you want. And I didn't see like the GitHub models plugin there, because GitHub models are really new. And I thought, like, why don't build it? So I build it. I will show you in a bit like all the capabilities that it has, but basically it is a fully functional plugin that allows you to create a generative AI applications using GitHub models in less than 5 minutes.
What?
So
5 minutes
yeah.
from that is incredible. Okay. Let's get cooking. Let's take a look at your screen and
Yeah. Let me share my screen. Share my screen.
that's
Where
awesome.
is
And I mean, you spin up this super quick, because I remember we announced models, and it wasn't long after that
yeah.
you were
Yeah.
already.
I was, yeah, because I
All
was
right.
thinking about the idea, because I was, at that time I was trying Firebase Genkit, and like I was saying, like I think GitHub models is a it's a good fit, for this. So let me know when my screen is
You
up.
are, yes, I see it. We are on the Firebase-Genkit
Okay.
homepage.
So first of all, I'm going to introduce you Firebase Genkit, which is an open source project. And then I will introduce the plugin. Okay. Firebase Genkit, I mean, it has the name of Firebase itself, but basically is a framework that, as I said, allows you to create generative AI applications um, in a super easy way. Sometimes people will ask, like, like, okay, so there are more like frameworks out there, like Llama Index, like LangChain, and now there is like this one. One thing, I use Llama Index, I use LangChain, and now I'm using Genkit. One thing that I really love from Firebase Genkit is the easy to use, because when you are using, for instance, LangChain, or when you are using Llama Index, you need to learn like their abstraction layer, basically. And Firebase Genkit, since the beginning, I mean, it is currently in beta, but since the very beginning, the main thing there was to make it easy from the developer experience perspective to focus on what matters, which is building generative AI apps. Okay. LangChain as well and Llama Index, they want to cover like a big spectrum in the generative AI apps, making, like harder these, like while you are developing Gen AI apps. And Genkit is more so like, like right to the point. So as well, like another thing that I want to mention is that like this does not mean that Firebase Genkit is a framework that only works on Firebase functions, for example. You can use it, is literally like a couple of libraries, and you can use it to deploy wherever you want. Like if you want to use it in your JavaScript code, you can use it, and in your current application, you can integrate it super easily. Right now, it is available on Node, like JavaScript, TypeScript, which is the one that we are gonna see today. And that one is in beta. And in alpha, they have support for Golang. So the one of the cool things that have Genkit is their plugin ecosystem. Like basically, you can create different types of plugins that you can put it there, and you can connect to different models using like different LLMs, using different embedding models. There are also frame plugins that are for tracing. Like when we are building generative AI applications, tracing, making sure that everything is working fine, is also great. So they have basically here the docs on how to write a plugin, and they have here an example. There are also another examples that I will share in a bit, but yeah, like these are the official plugins like Google Cloud, Firebase, different vector databases, because you can use Genkit for building a retrieval augmented generation applications. Basically, if you have like a set of documents or a set of like web pages that you wanna uh, like ask questions in your generative AI applications, this framework is also supports this type of applications. You have retrievers and and embedders. Here you can see all the information. So yeah, today we are not cover this because this is like we don't have enough time to cover retrieval augmented generation. um, Another cool feature is that has tool calling. You can define your tools as basically external functions that the LLMs can call. So this framework also use this. So basically, most of the things that you need to build a generative AI app is covered by Genkit. Okay. Um, so this is Firebase Genkit. Let's chat about GitHub models. GitHub models, if you go to github.com marketplace and then you click on models, you will see all the available models that are there today. One of the cool things of GitHub models, as I said at the beginning, is they are really easy to use. Like you just need a GitHub account, and you can, for instance, if we go to GPT 4.0, you can have like a playground here directly, and you can interact with the OpenAI model, like, hi, how are you? Right from here. Like if it was, like if you were on Azure or in other cloud that you test, like you test the model. And there's another way to interact with these models that are basically using the API. So for the API, there are two ways to interact with it. If you go to JavaScript, for example, you can choose the vendor SDK. In this case, we are trying OpenAI GPT-4o. So you can use the OpenAI SDK, or you can use the Azure AI Inference SDK. Okay, both works fine. But whenever you want to build like a generic application that you want to, like for instance, search, or you want to use using different models, like, and depending of the and variable you use one or another, my recommendation is to use the Azure AI Inference SDK, because when you scroll down, and the most important thing is for like login is like literally just a GitHub token, and that's it. You are all set. So what I was saying is, like, whenever you wanna change your your model, it's just an environment variable, and that's it. So for instance, let's say that we want to try GPT-4o mini, or we want to see how performs Cohere, or any other models that are available in the GitHub Marketplace models. So it's just a model, okay, a
And
variable.
before you could do that, and I'm sorry, I'm gonna ask questions. And folks, if you're joining, please feel free to ask questions. That's why we
Yeah.
have Xavi here today. Before you could just change that by it being just a change of a variable, then what was the burden on the developer? Like, how, if I wanted to use, I mean, that would be like lines and lines of code that I needed to write to be specific from one model to the other.
What did you mean, Andrea?
So, like, for example, like here, you're showing us how we're able to test the different models, like not only on
Yeah.
the playground, but here. But before, if I was writing an integration like this in my application, then it will have to be very specific to that. And it wouldn't be as simple as just saying, okay, now I want to change to Phi 3 or GPT mini. And so that makes it super,
Yeah, yeah,
we could say an easy, but makes it more accessible for you to play with
exactly.
the models and figure out which one is the one that you could use. Like, it could be the best for your application, for your use case.
Exactly, exactly. And I think that that is what makes GitHub models so powerful. Like for instance, let's say we were trying GPT-4o. Let's switch, like to a different vendor, like Cohere Command R. If we go to the Get API key and we use the Azure AI Inference SDK, it's literally the same, but the model name is just different. But the code, the source code, is exactly the same. So this is very useful. For instance, when you are doing like A/B testing, like, okay, let's try this model and see how this performs. Or like nowadays there's a new model every single day. So it's like, let's say that there's GPT-5. Let's try GPT-5 here, and it's just an environment variable that you just need to change, and your code is it just works basically. So that's pretty cool. But if you wanna build a as I said, like generative AI applications and using GitHub models, my recommendation, or my go-to, is gonna be to use Genkit. Why? Because Genkit has, as I said, like a bunch of like plugins, a bunch of integrations that makes you even easier. So GitHub models makes these things easy, but Genkit makes things easier. And all together, as I said at the beginning, like you have a generative AI application running in less than 5 minutes. So that's why I create not this one, but this one, the Firebase Genkit GitHub Models plugin. So how does that work? First, let me walk you through the code. Let me zoom in a little bit. You will need to install the plugin. Okay, so well, first of all, you will need to set up a Firebase Genkit plugin. For that, there's the Genkit CLI that you can install. That information is in the Genkit in the Genkit documentation, so you can just go there and follow the instructions. It's pretty straightforward. And then when there's like when that is done, let's say that you want to use GitHub models. In that case, what you will need to do is basically install in your JavaScript or TypeScript project this plugin, which is genkitx-github. And let me explain you how Genkit works. Okay, Genkit, basically the first thing that you have to do is to configure the framework itself by telling like all the plugins that you are gonna use. Okay, so to initialize the GitHub plugin is just as easy as this. And if you have, for instance, a GitHub token environment variable, you don't even need to set the GitHub token. You just need to specify this line. And with that, you have initialized Genkit with the GitHub plugin. So you, from there on, you can use GitHub models, okay? How to use a GitHub model? In Genkit, there's one of the most important functions is generate. Okay, so basically you will call to the model that you want with a prompt, and you will get a response, right? So here, like, this is just a super simple application, but like if you see like the amounts of lines, like the lines of code that we have, they are like literally like less than 20 and probably less than 10, and you have an application that, again, this is super easy example, but goes to the initialized Genkit and calls OpenAI GPT 4.0 asking to tell a joke. Okay, that's super easy. So again, GitHub models put everything, like super easy to build stuff, and Genkit as well. So everything together is just a perfect fit. What is a flow? This is a concept on Genkit that basically is like some sort of like a function. Okay, on Genkit, you will call flows. Okay, one thing that I like a lot from the flows is that it accepts a structure input and a structure output. A structure input when we are calling the LLM, the GitHub models, and a structure output when we are getting the information back from the LLM. Okay, as I said, the capabilities that this plugin has to interact with GitHub models are you can use like the generate function, which is calling an LLM, the one that you want. You can use tools. You can use images as input. Like for instance, let's say that you have, I don't know, like the classic example that I usually use is for translation. So let's say that you have an image that you want to translate from English into Spanish. You can specify that, like set that, and call the GitHub model, and the GitHub model will translate that for you in plain text. It supports JSON output, like a structure output. And I think that's in the also the embedding models for the retrieval augmented generation in Genkit for the when you want to create embeddings, that's also available. Okay. So this is like the plugin. One thing that I wanna share with you before we go direct into the demo is that there's another repo that I created called Awesome Firebase-Genkit. If you are not familiar with what is an awesome project, basically it's a curated list by the community where you can find like relevant information about some specific topic. In this case is Firebase-Genkit. So you can find like a bunch of plugins for Firebase Genkit. They are the official ones, the ones that are supported by Google, and the ones that are created by the community. Because I wanted to also to showcase all the huge stuff that the community is building. So if you click, for instance, in the official, you will see the types of plugins that you can build, like model embedding plugins, vector store plugins. These are like the vector databases that Jenkins supports, monitoring plugins, and then another plugins. Like, for instance, if you want to deploy your code in Firebase, like Firebase functions, you can do that as well. But again, Firebase Genkit doesn't mean that you have to deploy things in Firebase function. You can deploy everything wherever you want. And for instance, for the JavaScript community plugins, you have mine, the genkitx-github, Anthropic, Cohere, Grok, Mistral, OpenAI, Azure OpenAI. For the vector store databases, there are a lot, like the Convex Engine, AHNSW, Quadrant, Astra, PG Vector, TIDB, Redis Vector Stores. There are a lot of things going on. Evaluator plugins, other plugins. So there are a lot of things. There are a lot of things for Golang. Since I said, like it is in alpha, you have like Vertex AI, Google AI, Olama. Those are like official plugins. And then for the community, there's one for OpenAI. The Olama plugin is also great because you can, for instance, while you are developing, you can run Olama in your laptop and use, for instance, like models like Gemma, Gemma 2 billion,
Mhm.
that is not too big. So you can use that, and you will not consume, like tokens in the cloud in terms of like billing and all that stuff. You will find also, like talks, videos, articles, tutorials, and yeah, all the contributions are open, of course, for like the plugin plus this awesome Firebase Genkit. So feel free to jump there. You can find them in the under my GitHub, which is github.com/shavidop. And yeah, I don't know, Andrea, you have like more questions? If no, we can go right.
No, let's. If you don't mind grabbing that link for me and put it
Yeah,
on our private chat, so I can go ahead and send it. This is an awesome like list. Like there's a thing called awesome list too, but this is awesome. Like I love that you crowdsource that.
do you?
That's incredible. Thank you. Perfect. That way I can go ahead and share it with all of you. And if you know of a plugin out there that you want to contribute to this list, go ahead and that can be your contribution, friends. Or add a new one, add more resources. I love that you're giving options besides like just because it's Firebase doesn't mean like you have to use that.
Yeah, that's the most important thing, and that's why I
Mhm.
wanted to like emphasize and clarify that, because there are a lot of since like it is under the Firebase brand and it is called Firebase Genkit, could be a little bit confusing. In fact, like I was confused, like when I was starting this, it's like, okay, this is a Gen AI framework for Firebase serverless functions, and it's not. It's just another framework like LangChain or Llama Index, but simpler and faster to iterate.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah, I think I don't see any questions. I just see like shout outs. Thank you, Robert, for being here. About basically the whole point, how it's making it so much easier for you to start experimenting with the models. And then Ravi's really happy that there is Golan support. So all the Golan people are very happy
Yeah,
watching
yeah.
this right now.
Yeah,
Awesome.
Golang. I mean, I am a big fan of Golang, and when I saw the announcement, it was like, oh my god! Like, thank you so much, because Golang, um, I don't know, like I love it. The performance that it has is super good, and you can go as lower as you want or as higher as you want, and it works just perfect. Big fan of Golang.
Hey, shout out
Um,
to the Golang community. All right, let's see this thing in action. I'm excited.
yeah. So okay. I prepare something for you, which
Mm-hmm.
is I call it Genkit NLU. Okay. What is an NLU, first of all? Because we need to know what is an NLU before we go deeper. And an NLU is called like natural language understanding. Okay, is basically in the past there were like specific AI models that their main action or their main point was to try to identify the user's actions. Okay, let's say that, for instance, you are interacting with a chatbot. Okay, and you specify, you as a user, that you want to buy some shoes. Okay, the NLU, what is able to, like, the NLU models, what they are able to understand is that you as a user want wants a shoes. Okay, and if you specify like a brand like Nike, let's say, they will also detect that you are not only are, you know, like requesting some shoes, but also from Nike, you know. Because, I mean, right now with the LLMs we are using more and more natural language understanding, but for instance, when we are building a chatbot, we want to detect what our users want, um, to plan accordingly, you know. For instance, for the chatbot, if we know what the user is requesting, we can, you know, like, show the type of shoes, in this case, that he or she wants. So what I created is basically an NLU using GitHub models and using Genkit. Okay. The project, well, I'm gonna switch to Visual Studio Code because I think that's gonna be easier. The project has two parts. This project is specifically for a Firebase function project. So it is a serverless project that you can easily deploy into your Firebase console, and it just works. And and then in the function itself, there's the index.ts. Okay, this is where like all the source code happens. Okay, let's dive in the code to see what is going on here. The first thing, as we saw, let me zoom in a little bit. The first thing that we have to do, and as I said before, is to call the configure Genkit to enable or to add the plugins that we are going to use. Okay, in this case, this is a Firebase function that gonna use the GitHub models, and we are gonna use an engine called dot prompt to manage our prompts, which is another plugin. Okay, I will show you how a dot prompt file looks like, because it's one of the things that I love the most from Firebase Genkit. Okay, so next, what we want is the on flow. Remember that the flow on the Genkit side is basically like the same definition as a function, but they call it flows. And using Genkit, from one flow you can call another flows. Okay, so you can create even more complex interactions, but calling from one flow to another flows that can do another Gen AI stuff. Okay. So the first thing that you have to do is like giving a name to your flow, and then remember what I said, that is strongly typed. This is one of the good things that it has. Basically, you have to specify the input schema and output schema, and you have to tell Genkit like the structure. In this case, we are gonna have an object type that has a property called text that is a string. Okay. The auth policy, like the authentication, for this use case, we are not gonna use any, and the output schema is gonna be just a string. Okay. So the first thing, this is the main function, okay, like the source code of the flow. First thing that we are gonna do is to define a schema. The define a schema. Well, before we dive in, let me show you the NLU itself. In an NLU, you have intents and entities. Okay, remember when I was explaining what is an NLU is basically to extract or try to detect what our users are telling us. Okay, so in this case, we have an intent called order shoes, and it has different utterances. Like basically, we can order shoes in different ways, right? So you you have to give like some examples. Like I want a pair of shoes from shoes brand. Okay, this is like a placeholder. A shoes from shoes brand, and then you can add here as much examples as you want. Okay, so the source brand, this ID, is defined in the entities.yaml. Basically, it's exactly the same. Like there are several source brand, and you can give examples. Okay, like Puma, Nike, Adidas, whatever. One of the cool things of using GitHub models and of using LLMs in general is like back in the past when you were using an NLU model. Let's say that if you say like Adidas and Adidas was not in the example, the NLU model was like, okay, I did not understand, and you have like that kind of like frustration from the user, because it's like why Nike works, why Adidas work is because back in the past, like you have to add like all the brands, and in this example, like manually, but using GitHub models or using LLMs in general, and in this case, like with just two examples, the LLM is like able to abstract and is say, okay, I have Puma, I have Nike. If you send to me Adidas, I will take it. No worries. Okay.
Oh,
Of course, the more examples that you give, the better. That's 100%. But this example is pretty neat because with just two examples on the entities and two utterances, we were able, like these NLU powered by LLMs, powered by GitHub models, it will detect everything. Um, yeah, with just two utterances, two examples, which is pretty cool. So basically what we want is the ID of the intent, like order shoes, and the ID and the value of the source brand. So I can get that back and send that to my backend and say, okay, the user is calling a order shoes, and the shoes brand is Nike, for example. Okay. So how can we do that with GitHub models and Genkit? Basically, you have here, the first thing that we have to define is the output schema, okay? The output schema, as I said, is the intent and the list of entities that has been recognized, okay? In this case, what we will see is intent is gonna be order underscore shoes, and entities is gonna be like the list of shoes detected. In this case, could be like Nike, Adidas, the one that we use, okay? And then we define our prompt, okay? Prompt ref is called NLU. And you guys, maybe you are asking, okay, where's the prompt? Because I only see here TypeScript code. Where's the prompt? The prompts are stored under the prompts folder. So if you call the prompt ref and then the NLU, basically you have to have defined an NLU.prompt, okay? I like this abstraction because basically you can have a prompt engineer working only on .prompt files without touching the TypeScript code that is mainly touched by developers, okay? So what is like what the dot prompt, like the structure, what is this? The first thing is here in the first part you have to define the model that you use. In this case is the GitHub model GPT-4o, the input that we need, which is, it has this schema, which is intents, entities, and user. The user input basically is our database of intents, our database of entities, like the YAML files, and what is the user requesting, okay? And then the output is going to be JSON format, and the schema is NLU output, okay? So if we go back, this schema is the one that we just defined, okay? You can define that here as here as well, in the same way that we have defined it, but I wanted to use these two ways to showcase this feature. And then the prompt, as easy as this, like you are an NLU that detects intents and extract entities from a given text. You have these intents and utterances, which is a placeholder for our intents. And you also have these entities, placeholder for these entities. The user says user input, which is this one. Please specify the intent detected and the entity detected, or entities, okay? So let's continue. We have here like the reference to our prompt. We read our databases, YAML, intents, and entities YAML. This is for an example, like easy to use. You can put your database in, like externally, for example, like using Firebase Firestore, or or adding this YAML into a storage and download it. And then you will call the generate function, as we saw before. And we will pass the intents, our database entities, and then what the user is requesting, okay? And then result.output, and that's it, okay? So let's see this in action. One of the cool things that has Genkit as well is that when you are developing, they have a developer UI, okay? So you need to run two things locally. The first thing is the Firebase emulator. If you are using Firebase functions, okay? If you are using, imagine that you have like an Express application, an OJS classic application, you don't need to run the Firebase emulator. And then you have to run the Genkit start and then the attach, okay? So when you run this, like in this case, Firebase emulator and the Genkit UI, and if we go here, you have this really cool UI that is running in my laptop, and I can like use it to do whatever I want, okay, for testing purposes. So for example, here we can see under flows, the energy flow that we just created. It shows us the dot prompt, the NLU, okay, and if you want to try it from here, you can just try it from here, click on run. And also all the models that, for instance, in this case, the Genkit, the plugin that I built using GitHub models has, right now we support 23 GitHub models that are a lot. So you can click on here, and you can interact with the GitHub models as well from the Firebase Genkit developer UI, which is pretty cool because everything is basically in one place. You don't have to go to the GitHub marketplace, choose the model that you want, and then interact with a playground. You can do that from here, which is pretty neat as well. So let's try this. Let's say that I want a pair of shoes from Nike. And if everything works fine, fingers crossed, here you have the LLM, the GitHub model. In this case, remember that we are using GPT-4o. It gave us an structured output. The input is also structured because I have a property called text. That one is the one that we have defined on top of this. Input schema, it's an object that has a property that is a string called text. That's why when you open this UI, by default you have your object empty, so you can just type whatever you want and click on run, and it just works. And then the output, which is the intent, order shoes, and the entities, and it detected that we want Nike. Remember that, of course, like we have Nike in our database. Okay, if we were an old NLU and we change Nike for Adidas, the NLU probably will say, what is this? I don't understand this. So we click on run, the LLM is able to abstract and say, okay, you don't have that in your database, but I am an LLM, large language model, so I can get that for you. And the coolest thing is that if instead of typing this in English, if we type it in Spanish, for example, yo quiero unas zapatillas de Adidas. Let's say if that works, because this is just live. But here is the same. It works. Nike. It's exactly the same. You have one database that is defined in English, because the utterances, the examples are in English, and no matter the language that you use, that everything goes, like in a big prompt to the NLU, to the LLM, sorry, to the GitHub model, and it gives you the output, which is wonderful because back in the past, like you cannot imagine how complex is to build something like this using classic NLUs. So yeah,
So
and
this example that you're showing us is basically, you say it was for a chatbot, right? For like, let's say like an
yeah,
e-commerce site. So now if your customer is coming in and asking an inquiry with chatbot and they don't speak English, they can ask it in whatever their
exactly,
natural language is without it being a separate application or something else that's heavier on your
exactly,
website. That's fantastic.
exactly. And again, like the lines of code that we have here is less than 50, and we have like, I mean, of course, we have the prompt, and the NLU and all that stuff, but it's like TypeScript codes less than 50, and it works just like magic, which is wonderful because, again, and going back to my pitch, um, using both frameworks, well, like Firebase Genkit framework that makes everything super easy, plus GitHub models that makes everything super easy as well. Boom, you have Gen AI apps that, like the limit is in your head, like in your brain. You can create whatever you want. So yeah, that's really really great.
That's so
Um,
cool. Have you seen any use cases now that you can share with us? Like, or like, what do you think? Like, I know it's super new, so you just literally put this out. Like, I don't even, has it been a month? I don't think it's even been a month since you open
yeah, I
sourced
think it
it.
was a month or so.
Yeah.
I'm seeing things using Genkit for sure.
Hmm.
Not because the GitHub models, like the limits, the rate limits are a little bit low right now because I think they are in beta or something like that. But I'm seeing like enterprise applications using Genkit. Yeah, that's for sure. So yeah, that's pretty much it. You have my code, like everything that I showcase today is of course open source, and you have everything under my GitHub account, shavidov/genkitx-github, shavidov/awesome Firebase Genkit. And then the showcase that we did today is the Genkit LNU. In the README, what you can find is basically what I explained step by step. You can go there and understand like the prompt, understand the source code, understand the usage itself, like our database of intents and entities,
Hmm.
and how to use it. Okay. And everything is open source. So feel free to contribute, to fork, to do whatever you want.
That's awesome. Mhm. Give me 1 second. I'm lost. I
Let
know.
me stop setting. Well, I can probably I can just share my GitHub user. You can find me on GitHub at Xavidop and also on Twitter, which I am quite active there with the same handle at Xavidop.
Awesome. 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 Okay. Very cool. Give me a second, Xavi.
No worries.
Technical difficulties here. I might need to exit and come back up. So I'm gonna leave you with Xavi for a moment, folks. Don't leave. Don't leave me. I'll be right back. I think I have my computer has frozen on the screen where the stream is being produced and it's not letting me exit out. So in the meanwhile, Xavi, why don't you tell people how they can contribute to the project?
Yeah, so basically, one thing, well, right now, like on the GitHub models, they don't support yet like models like Whisper or like image generation. Probably they will come after. So this plugin only supports image input and text input, but not audio, I think. Well, right now, I'm confused. I don't know if GPT-4o supports audio, but the plugin does not support audio and image output. So when GitHub model supports that, if anyone, I mean, I will add that. But if anyone wants to help me, to add that feature in the plugin, please feel free to like open a pull request or open a issue that is like a new feature and contribute with a new pull request. That's 100%. And yeah, like what I want right now is basically feedback, because like I built this the plugin itself like is getting quite trendy. I think we are having, it's around like 128 per week, and that's now, but in the past it was like around like 300 downloads per week. So I think overall we should have like 5,000 downloads. So yeah, like if you find an issue or you have like a new feature request or feedback improvement, feel free to open an issue and I will be more than happy to to help you. And yeah, and also I'm excited for what is coming in this GitHub universe. So yeah, next Saturday I will be flying to San Francisco, because we are gonna do this session next week in Spanish. So for all the Spanish speakers, like make sure that you chime in, because it will be in Spanish. So if you want to ask questions in Spanish, we will reply them in Spanish. And then that's next Friday, and then next Saturday I will be flying to SF for GitHub Universe. So yeah, I'm super excited for the GitHub Universe. I know that there are a lot of things that, at least for instance, like the stars that we have tried in beta, and yeah, like everything's gonna be fantastic. So be ready for that. And it's the 10th year anniversary, so I think it's gonna be like really, 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 really big, as you saw in the beginning, like the video that Andrea play at the very beginning. So yeah.
Xavi, you're a star. Thank you. That was a little adventure. It took me a while. I'm sorry, folks. Yeah, that's never happened before.
No worries.
I was a little bit locked out of all my things. All of a sudden, I had to restart my machine. It was actually, I'm surprised I came back so fast. So let's see if there are any questions in the audience here. Let's take a look and see. There's a question for, well, an invitation. I don't know. Jerry wants to talk to you. Are you going to be in New York in the near future, Xavi?
Oh, not that I'm aware of, but feel free to ping me on LinkedIn.
There we
So
go.
if you are like an co-organizer of a community, I will be more than happy. In fact, I'm gonna do this, like the demo that we are seeing in like a workshop using
Mhm.
Genkit and GitHub models. I'm gonna give that workshop in Glasgow by the end of next month. So if everyone is from Glasgow, I will be there. And also in Spain, like Madrid, Valencia. But I travel a lot, so I'm open.
Very, very cool. Xavi is open to invitations, friends. All right. And then we have a question about security. Let's see. What would your recommendation be for implementing this model for security purposes? So like vulnerability checks on libraries used for my web app. That's an
Yeah,
excellent
so
question.
that's a great question. What I'm using right now, for example, is I'm using Sonar Cloud, that basically checks for vulnerabilities
Mhm.
in every commit, and I set up as a check for every PR. So there's like a quality gate that needs to be, like okay. So once that is okay, you are free to merge. And also GitHub has a wonderful dependent bot that you
Mhm.
can enable, and the security, yeah, like there are like some security features that you can enable. So whenever you're using a dependency that has exploit, you can use it, and it's totally free. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Thank you for reminding us about the Panda lot. That's awesome. And thank you. That and actually this was a question from Javier. Thank you, Javier, for that question.
Oh.
Let me quickly scroll through the chat just to make sure that while I was restarting my machine, there weren't any other questions. But I take it you were able to share how to contribute, go to the repo, read the contributing guidelines, all that good stuff. Maybe a question, what's the most impactful contributions, or like what are you looking for right now the most? Do you want people to come in and try it? Like what can be something that would be like really add value to the project right now?
So I would love to see like real applications using like all the stack that I saw case today. That will be really, really cool. And also it will be like something like it will fulfill myself, like seeing something live, that using some open source stuff that I built. That will be really cool.
That sounds really fun. Okay, awesome. And so you showed us an example that was super specifically like, and I loved it because it's actually for the e-commerce, like it's a business, right? So it's a very
Yeah.
real world example. Like what else can we integrate this in? Like what other web apps? I don't know what your web app is, Javier. Tell me what Javier from the chat. But what can be like for the folks that are joining in now and are thinking, well, this would
Yeah.
be good for
So
my site. Like,
there are a lot of use cases, like I don't know, like for if you are using like you have like another chatbot for support, you can instance like deploy like all the like the knowledge base of your business, and everyone can like use GitHub models plus Genkit to interact with a chatbot that answers like users questions. You can use that like to summarize content. Like let's say that you have like a book, and you don't have time, and like you say, okay, give me a brief summary of this book, or per chapter, or things like that. That's something that you can do that as well using GitHub models and Genkit. Another cool use case that I saw is like e-learning web, that basically you are the one that auto generates the courses. Like it's instead
oh,
of going to Coursera and you see like a GitHub course. No, you type what do you want to learn, and it creates, and that's built using Jenkit. It creates an entire course with like chapter 1, chapter 2, chapter 3 challenges, and it is amazing. So the all the things that you can do with generative AI, with GitHub models, with Jenkit, it's just incredible.
that is such a good idea for you to create your own, not only for like content for like, let's say commercial content, like for all of you who are creators or like are amazing teachers and want to put out content, but for you to learn, like, because you can do your own kind of quizzing
Yeah.
thing, right? Like
For
that's
me,
pretty cool.
Yeah, let me share the web app, like, cause when I saw that was, oh my goodness. Yeah, let me see if I can get it. It is called Eureka.
Mhm.
Let me share the link with you.
Yeah, please. So I can go ahead and share it with everyone. I just listened to this podcast, like, but like something about the best way for you to learn a new whatever it is to quiz yourself, um, and not like that you retain more information if you're like constantly stopping and quizzing. So I've been trying to apply that to things that I'm trying to learn, and it's true though. So this will be a great way for you to make that easy for yourself. So
Yeah.
see if you can find it, and then that's awesome.
Yeah, and like for instance, if you don't want to use like text to text, and you want to use like image to text, for example, that's something that you can use, and you can do like object detection. For instance, last week that was really cool as well. Last week I developed an app that was like when the little babies, when you prepare food for them,
Hmm.
you have to be like very very aware of like what you give to the babies, how you give to the babies, like chopped, like blended. So I created an app that literally you send a picture of the, like, these classic plates with dividers for kids,
What?
and you, like, the LLM detects like what is in there, like the GitHub LLM detects like what is in there, and you specify like, like it's 6 months years old, it has, like allergies to peanuts, for example, or things like that. And it will, like, of course, when we are talking about this, you have to take this as an, like as an, like, don't take it too seriously in
Right,
terms of,
right. Like you gotta double check. Like don't. Yeah, it's not the
exactly.
law. Like still doesn't mean like put the plate in front of your baby without knowing what you're
Exactly.
giving them. Yeah.
But yeah, it will give you, like suggestions, like that's great. Probably the strawberry, instead of, like chop it in cubes, you should blend it, because for a 6 months years old baby that will be better, and things like that. So yeah, or you add like something, if he detects like chocolate or sugar or something like that, that for early babies there it's not good, like it will tell you, okay, you are gonna give chocolate for your baby, and probably that's not a good idea because of blah blah blah. So yeah, that was another cool idea that you can build using LLMs. In this case is from GPT-4o
That's very
vision,
cool.
using GitHub models. So yeah, there are a lot
That's
of things
very
that
cool.
you can do.
I love that. I love that. I seen that you. I'm sure you've seen the meme that there's a meme out there that says like I don't want this to be building like creating art or like writing books, but like instead like solve problems that are like real problems for me that would
Yeah.
take time and effort. And that's really cool. Very cool. Shari, thank you so much. Before we go and listen, I know we're going way over time, and if you're still here, you're a warrior. And thank you for hanging out with me through. I cannot believe I had to start my machine in the middle of the stream. That's never happened before. Um, I'm gonna see you in a week, a bit over a week,
Yeah,
because we are going to be going to GitHub Universe.
exactly.
So if you don't mind and you have a moment of time, because friends, I mean, I know when I say it comes across as I'm a chill because I get paid by these people, but you had an opportunity to come to Universe last year. And so could you quickly just share what do you think was your experience? Like, how was it? Did you like it? Like,
Yeah.
would you go again? I mean, obviously you're coming, I already said
Yeah,
that.
so GitHub Universe was amazing. Not only because of the talks, the keynotes, the new releases, like that's also amazing. Like the things that you can learn from like real use cases from GitHub experts. That's, I mean, that's the value that has that is incredible. But also like the networking. I mean, we are here today, is called Open Source Friday, and GitHub pushes for the open source community by a lot. And you can find a lot of maintainers, a lot of open source contributors, uh, like really, like important people from the open source community goes there, so you can chat with them, you can have a coffee with them. There's a launch for certifications, I think, and I think this year is gonna be there as well. So you
Yes.
can get a GitHub certificate there. You take an exam and boom, that's done for free. There's a GitHub store with really cool merchandising. I know that like GitHub is also good in the merchandising. And the donuts, one of the most famous things of GitHub universe. So
I love that. I'm in it for the donuts too. I'm in it for the donuts. But you're so right, though, Xavi. Like, I mean, part of the reason, like, we're here, obviously, like, we met in person at GitHub Universe, and a lot of the amazing networking and learning relationships that I had this past year have been from folks that I've met at that event. So the talks are amazing. Look at this epic, epic lineup of speakers.
yeah,
But for me, uh, the hallway track, being able to stop and then you're like literally like just whiplash because you're like, oh my gosh, that's the creator of so and so. Oh my gosh, that's the one project that I love. Oh, like, and it's
exactly.
so cool. And honestly, folks, I don't say this lightly. Like, people are so lovely and accessible there. So it's a great opportunity to interact with a ton of different folks, really epic folks, all within like one space. So this year is gonna be the biggest ever because it is our 10th year anniversary. I hope to see some of you there. I'm gonna be there recording some video podcasts. If you see me like wave, I'll be like in a fishbowl, but just wave. I'd love to meet some of you. If you have an open source project that you would like to have featured on Open Source Friday and you're not sure, maybe you wanna talk about it, let's talk about it. Like, please come by, say hi. I know there's a lot of folks from my team also. Our COO actually just said it, like, if you see me, say hi. And this is true and wholeheartedly. Like, we're there. This event is for you so that you tell us, give us the
Yeah.
feedback. So I love that. Let's see. And I have one more question, and then we can move on um, to this raffle. Let's do this raffle, Xavi, for the people that stay here. And I hope you didn't have anything else to do. It's a Friday night. You're like, it's 8 o'clock at night, Andrea. Let's close this out. But you gotta stay here with me for this. All right. So, quick question. Let's see. Something about maybe this was answer. A host page is much easier with GitHub Pages. What are the difference between hosting with Firebase and GitHub Pages? Oh, that's a good question. About, I guess, about hosting a bit more. Um,
That's a great one. Yeah,
Yeah, I don't know. Like, I guess it depends on what your use case is, I guess.
exactly.
It's like picking
Depends.
a framework for anything.
Exactly. Depends on the framework. Depends on the engine that you use. If you are using like that, that really depends on where both are great. I would say that's
Yeah.
100%.
Listen, I'm team use what makes you work the happiest, fastest, most productive. So you
Exactly.
test them all, figure out what you like best.
Exactly.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Ayla, for the question. All right, so folks, don't forget, check out GitHub Universe. For those of you who have entered the sweepstake, this is the moment you've been waiting for. And I am super excited to be able to do this here today. We're gonna do it with Chevy on. All right, let's see. I'm gonna share my screen. And then I have to go back out of the screen. So the way it works is folks enter this giveaway. It was open earlier in the week, and you just need to sign up for the virtual experience and leave us your username. And be in the US based. I'm so sorry because that's just the rules. I didn't make the rules, but then what are the rules? And yeah, what do you win if your username comes up on this screen? Well, you win a ticket to GitHub Universe. You get to come and have a donut with me, or not if you don't want to. That's fine. You can meet Xavi in person, or not if you're open for it. But yeah, so thank you so much to everyone who participated, and best of luck to all of you. And there you have it, friends. Brian Shan 561. It's your time. It's your time. Congratulations. You are now the lucky, lucky winner of a entry to GitHub Universe in person live. This is awesome. I am going to be sending you an email with details about how you can register. And I hope we take a moment to meet. I want to interview you. Come into the podcast. I hope this is a really good experience for you, as it was for Xavi last year. And I hope the donuts are still good this year. They're going to be epic. I know it. Thank you,
Yeah.
everyone. Xavi, thank you for being here. You're the best. Thank you for hanging out with me for so long. And you're like, next week, we'll keep it briefer. For those of you who are here from our beautiful Spanish-speaking communities and you want to see all of this in your own language, join us for Open Source Viernes next Friday, where Xavi is going to actually demo, once again, Genkit and his plugin. And we're going to do it again, but we're going to do it in Spanish. So thank you, Xavi. Any parting words?
Thank you very much, and thanks for having me. And yeah, see you all next week. And if anyone comes to GitHub Universe, feel free to ping me. Ping us.
Yeah, for sure. Say hi to Xavi. Say hi to me. I have one more thing, and then I promise you're like, Andrea, this is the second time you said you have one more thing, but this truly is the last thing, because I would be remiss if I didn't share this really epic news. For those of you who joined from the continent of Africa, which we usually have a lot of folks that are joining from there. I know that the time's not like very conducive, but some of y'all night owls, that's what you do. If you're here and you're from South Africa or the South African countries, I have amazing news for you. GitHub is coming to you. What? We are coming. We are coming, and we're not just coming. We are going to host an amazing community event for all of you in Johannesburg. So please go to the website. I'm going to share the link to the website. We should be announcing our speaker lineup soon, which is going to be really cool. We have the absolute privilege and honor of having a keynote by our CEO, who is also traveling. And we have an amazing panel. We have our chief of staff is coming. There's going to be folks from the All In for Open Source Africa, folks from Open Source Community Africa, folks from Chaos. We have some local partners who are doing incredible work for their community there, and they're going to be joining. So if you are interested in attending this epic conference in Johannesburg, November 14, go to githubconstellation.com and sign up today, please. We're keeping it very intimate, so it's going to be a smaller crowd. Go ahead and sign up. Hey, if you ever wanted to go to Johannesburg on vacation, this might be a perfect opportunity for you to go. So great news for the continent. I'm so excited that we get to be there and just see what awesome things the community are building. We're hosting a hackathon, folks. This is going to be a full epic day. So can't wait to see you there. As always, thank you so much for being here. Congratulations so much to our amazing winner. I'll be sending you a message shortly, Brian. And thank you for your support of open source. We'll see you next week. Feel free to leave your questions, comments. If you're watching this post recording and you have questions for Xavi, he's pretty awesome. So I know if I send them to him, he'll make sure you get an answer. So thank you all so much for joining. Don't forget, November 14, save the date, Johannesburg, GitHub Constellation 2024. I don't know if there'll be donuts, but there's going to be swag and awesome sessions. All right. Thank you all so much again for being here and for your support for open source. And we'll see you next week. Bye-bye.
I've always, watched it virtually, but never got the chance to, come in person. And I actually took the chance and, applied to speak here. And I was invited to be part of the panel discussion today. So it was really amazing to, actually come here to experience all of this.
I think GitHub Universe does have this very casual feel to it, and presenting on the main stage, there's definitely this I'm just talking to developers about this cool thing that I get to work on every day. It's a very different conference feeling than a lot of other places I've presented.
It's a super welcoming conference and really has a community feel to it, which is amazing.
I'm very grateful for having the opportunity to actually speak here at GitHub Universe. So having went through the keynotes, it was an exciting keynote. And I also delivered my session, so I'm looking forward to exploring what the new sessions are going to deliver and what things I can learn.
As a speakers, we are really impressed by the coaching, the content. The organization
I've spoken at many conferences at this point, and most of them are more corporate driven and quite a bit larger and quite a bit just louder, frankly. But here I've made friends with many people. Everyone feels approachable, and I feel approachable too, and I've really enjoyed that experience so far.